Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast, Tuesday, February 6th of 2024. I'm sorry for no episode last Thursday night or Monday night. I was on a ski trip in Vermont with some of my college friends. Got high off that nostalgia, whether it was hanging with my college boys, remembering my bougie childhood. My parents actually met on one of the ski resorts that we were at, Killington. There was the anniversary of Super Bowl 36, which the Patriots won. Bill Belichick put this farewell letter in the Boston Globe. I was feeling lots of nostalgia. And I know you guys have felt a lot of nostalgia when it comes to every single moment that you have had, if you are a Houston sports fan, with Jose Altuve. And we got some big news tonight, courtesy of a tweet by the Houston Astros. It just came out of nowhere. What did that tweet say? Jose Altuve will be an Astro for life. He gets a contract extension with the Astros that, per Chandler Rome, is this. It's a $15 million signing bonus. It'll pay him $30 million once it takes effect, starting in 2025. It'll also be $30 million in 2026, 2027, and then the last 2 years of his contract, $10 million each in 2028 and 2029, and $125 million total. And you got to be happy for Jose Altuve, because I think anyone who has been watching him his entire career in Houston will tell you that this is the reason that you're watching the Houston Astros right now. I mean, go back to 2014. This is the only guy who was doing anything. And I remember covering those 2014 teams. And I remember watching Altuve and thinking to myself, this guy leads the American League in hits, which he did for 4 years in a row from 2014 through 2017. He finally wins the MVP in 2017. The Astros win the World Series in 2017. He led the American League in stolen bases a couple of those years as well. But he is the turning point for the Jim Crane Houston Astros, who went from a laughingstock, a joke, a waste of time, to one of the best dynasties in sports that's currently going. And I would argue it's still currently going because it's so damn hard in baseball to repeat. The Astros were a game away, no matter how disappointing Game 6 and Game 7 against the Texas Rangers was in the American League Championship Series. The Astros sent out an email. If you don't know the details about Altuve already, I mean, are you paying any attention? Next year is going to be his 13th in an Astros uniform. He's an 8-time All-Star. He's clearly one of the top 3 players in franchise history. I think he's better than Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio. 8 postseason appearances, 7 straight ALCS appearances, 4 American League pennants, 2 World Series. He ranks first among Astros with a .307 career average, third in hits with 2,047, 400 doubles, 1,062 runs, and in stolen bases, he's got 293. He's 4th in OPS. He's 5th in home runs. And on top of that, in the postseason, he's been one of the best performers ever. He ranks 2nd in postseason home runs with 27. 2nd in postseason runs with 89. He's tied for 3rd in hits with 117. He ranks 1st in virtually all offensive categories among second basemen in postseason history, plus 2 go-ahead 9th inning home runs in the 9th inning of an ALCS game, and a major league record tying 3 home run game in the 2017 ALDS. There's a list in this email that says accolades and milestones. And how many bullet points are there? Because we could keep reading. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah. The guy's good. Obvious take. You're doing this, paying Jose Altuve this $125 million extension because you don't want to see him sign elsewhere, and you're cool with overpaying him. Good. Because from an optics standpoint, you don't have a choice. I was talking about nostalgia a little bit ago. As someone who has seen his favorite team, the New England Patriots, be rational with my favorite player / Lord and Savior, Tom Brady, you have to make this deal happen, no matter how irrational it might be to pay a guy who's 38, 39, 40 years old. You have to do it. Because what's the win if you make the unsentimental decision? If you go robot mode, if you're cold-blooded, what is the win? Either you're right, but you look like an asshole for kicking a franchise legend and city hero to the curb, or worse, you were right. Or worse, this legend goes elsewhere and succeeds, making you look even worse. You're double wrong. Oh, well, we wanted to save some money. Oh, well, hey, no way he's going to be able to keep this up. That's what the Patriots learned the hard way with Tom Brady. And to that point about how he might go somewhere else and succeed, like Tom Brady did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, someone will sign Altuve. I saw a lot of people online in response to this news saying that nobody else would sign Jose Altuve. Are you fucking high? Seriously, are you high? Because if you believe that, you believe in a world where teams regularly overlook legitimately bad things that take place off the field, off the court to sign talent. And you're telling me that the other 29 teams in baseball are going to ride their high horse because Altuve and all of those postseason numbers, all those statistics I just listed, they're going to look they're going to overlook all that Altuve has done because of his alleged involvement in the 2017 sign-stealing scandal? Especially when so many teammates have publicly vouched for his character over theirs. Say, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman. He's proven said character off the field as well. You really think no one would sign Jose Altuve had he not gotten a contract extension that he just got right now? No, someone was going to sign him. It's weird to see the gymnastics and hula hoops that people are still jumping through to diminish everything that Jose Altuve has done in the majors. I don't know how you can discount it at this point. Did you see the home run that he had in Game 5 of the ALCS against the Rangers? Did you see what he did this past postseason? Wasn't Altuve's fault that the Astros season came to a very depressing end against the Rangers. Nope, wasn't him. Top of the order was doing its job. Bottom of the order was not. So I'm glad the Astros got this done. You should be too. What an obvious take, Paul. But I'm saying it because I'm glad I'm glad that they didn't listen to all the armchair GMs out there who would say that signing Altuve to an extension isn't the smart play. So good job by General Manager Dana Brown, who basically promised this, and good job by Jim Crane. Luis says, youtube.com/Paul Gallant, the Dodgers would have been the first ones in line to sign Altuve if he was a free agent. Maybe. Patty C asks, what happens with Breggy now? That is a good question, because if you take a look at the contracts going forward, the most pressing re-sign for the Astros would be Bregman. I don't know if you guys saw Chandler Rome's tweet about it, but Chandler wants everyone to know how different an Altuve extension is from a Bregman extension. Now, I think we got to go back for a moment and take a look at what Astros owner Jim Crane has had to say about Altuve in the last couple of hours. He did a professional, or delivered a professional, quote to Brian McTaggart of MLB.com. He said this, quote, Altuve was here when I got here in 2011. We're the only two guys that have been here that long. Not only has he performed well, but to have him hopefully retire here is a big deal for the franchise, for him, and the fans, more importantly. Nice little addition at the very end, because the fans would be pissed if Altuve ends up playing somewhere else. But Jim Crane, who I sometimes call a jock, seeing as he did pitch in college, I'm sure he's got a Letterman jacket somewhere. It did feel like there was a bit of a jockocracy when the Astros had no general manager last winter. Jim Crane put on some sunglasses, he put on the varsity jacket, and he dropped his dick on the table with this message that he delivered via Mark Berman. And I'm going to show it to you on my screen right now, youtube.com/Paul Gallant or twitch.tv/Gallant says, Jim Crane, while I'm here, the window will never close. Damn, son. Once again, Jim Crane, while I'm here, the window will never close. I mean, that's about as ballsy as you can be when you're an owner. Now, if you're a sports owner, who the hell's going to hold you accountable? You can't fire an owner for not delivering on a promise. This is very different than Dana Brown saying that they were going to sign Jose Altuve to an extension. To his credit, hey, they did. Or saying that they're trying to do the same thing with Alex Bregman or with Kyle Tucker. If Dana Brown doesn't get those things done, theoretically, he could get canned. That doesn't happen with Jim Crane. So can you really hold his feet to the fire and put pressure on him? To circle back to Patty's question about Alex Bregman, can you use this against him? If we are to believe Jim Crane telling Mark Berman, while I'm here, the window will never close, he will do something about this Bregman contract. Now, I think Chandler is right in saying that this is very different than with Jose Altuve. You got Scott Boras involved. You have an international player who was discovered in Venezuela versus an American-born player. There are different dynamics here. But at the same time, if you want to keep that window open, who the hell are you replacing Alex Bregman with at third base? I'm sure that there are some nerds out there, no offense, that understand who is a future contributor and who isn't in the Astros farm system, but who's the one that steps in for Bregman right now? That person does not currently exist until we see him surprise us at the major league level. But the odds of another Jeremy Pena coming in aren't great. And by the way, Jeremy Pena took a pretty big tumble back to earth from his rookie year to his second season. Doesn't mean he's never going to be able to recapture the glory of the 2022 postseason, but the odds are very high against him ever doing what he did over those 3 playoff series again, at least on a consistent, regular basis. It was a rough year for him last year. So Bregman, who turns 30 in July and has his contract expire after the year, will be the first test of Jim Crane's quote, after the Jose Altuve extension, while I'm here, the window will never close. Other contracts of note for the Astros. Yes, there's Kendall Graveman, whose contract expires after this coming season, but with the injury, the Josh Hader contract, he's likely done. So after that, you go to 2025, which will be the last year of arbitration for Framber Valdez. So you get one more team-controlled year with Framber next year. He will be 31 after the season and makes $12.1 million this coming year. And it's the last year of arbitration for Kyle Tucker, who makes $12 million and is going to turn, I believe, 28 by the end of the year. If you're picking between Bregman and Tucker, the rational play would be to pick the younger guy. I have a hard time, just based off of the Astros track record, believing that they pick both Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman. If they do, Jim Crane deserves a statue. If all of a sudden he's willing to throw everything to the wind and say, fuck it, I'm just going to spend and we're going to ride this thing until we can't ride anymore, then hell yeah, I would love to see that. We'll see if it happens. I'm a little bit skeptical. I did want to talk about a tweet about the Jose Altuve contract. It comes courtesy of Buster Olney of ESPN. Here it is. You can see it on my screen, youtube.com/Paul Gallant or twitch.tv/Gallant says, Jose Altuve had no interest in testing the market. He values what he has, knows he's happy, and has always felt as if he's overpaid to play a game. What the fuck is this water carrying by Buster Olney? And that's exactly what it is. That is owner water carrying. And it's not whether or not this tweet isn't true. For all we know, this is exactly how Altuve feels. I know Chandler Rome had a piece in the Houston Chronicle where he discussed Altuve and his desire to play until he's 40. Quote, I'm 32 and I want to play to 40. I love what I'm doing right now. I love my game. I enjoy my game. When I go out there and put my uniform on, I really enjoy playing with these guys. Hopefully I can stay here for the rest of my career. Everyone knows it's not up to me, but it's something I would love to do. So you hear that and you think, okay, well, maybe what Olney said is right. He values what he has, knows he's happy, feels he's overpaid. But fuck that. This is the kind of thing that owners in baseball, who are mostly notorious cheapskates, who are all about the profits and not about actually winning. This is exactly what owners want fans to believe. That Altuve, not pushing for every penny he can get, is good. Because they want more players to feel that way. And they want fans to continue to feel like these players shouldn't push for every single cent they can earn in a extremely capitalistic and me society. Ironically, we are all communists in sports. We want everybody to have a level playing field. We've got drafts for the shittiest teams with those teams at the top of the draft. And you also want all of these players to be playing just because they love to play. But that's not how it fucking works. It's not. And I hate that Buster Olney's carrying water here. And he's not alone. This is not unique to baseball. This is not unique to the NFL. This is every sport. The super agents tell the super reporters, who are essentially information traders, what to say. They're generally going to say it. And I think only speaking as if he's Jose Altuve here, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't like it. But I don't really like many baseball writers. John Ryan comments, youtube.com/Paul Gallant, we just need another World Series win. No more excuses. Well, I mean, what excuses are we talking about last year? They just didn't play well enough. The pitching went in the wrong direction, specifically when we look at Framber Valdez and we look at Christian Javier. The Bats dealt with injuries, which probably cost them a regular season game or two. Altuve missed a lot of time. Yordan Alvarez missed a lot of time. Yainer Diaz didn't play every game. I suppose that it's hard to quantify how much of an effect Martin Maldonado had on the Astros pitching. And maybe you make the argument that he was a detriment because he wasn't as good defensively. He wasn't good at gunning runners down who were trying to steal bases. But what is the trade-off defensively and from a pitching standpoint of having a clearly better bat and Yainer Diaz in over Martin Maldonado? I suppose we will find out over the course of this year. But there weren't enough bats. The Astros lineup from the 5 spot on, after Jose Abreu, ironically, in the playoffs, failed. And that's why they didn't win the World Series. We'll see. We will see. Anyway, I wanted to touch on a couple of other things because this is a podcast for multiple cities. I wanted to talk about something that the Seattle Seahawks did. Didn't have a chance to talk about it on Thursday because I was on a plane flying up to Vermont to go to Killington, to go to Stratton, skiing in a fucking sick ski suit. The Seattle Seahawks have hired Mike McDonald as their next head coach. They signed him to a 6-year deal. Now, when I see a Michael McDonald, I gotta go yacht rock here. Okay, so I'm gonna read some fun facts about Mike McDonald, like I'm Doobie Brothers legend Michael McDonald. At 36, he's the NFL's youngest head coach. He helped the Ravens be the first-ranked defense in points allowed, sacks, and takeaways in 2023. He was born in Boston. He was a high school football captain in Georgia. And he earned his master's degree in sports management. He got that degree at UGA, graduating with a 4.0 GPA. The Shanahan tree kept forgetting Mike McDonald's their boss. Kyle Shanahan tree forget they're the bitch of Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald was 8-0 against Shanahan tree teams. The 49ers, Dolphins, Rams, Texans, Bengals, and Seahawks. So on paper, Mike McDonald is a fantastic hire for the Seattle Seahawks. He's a guy who is from the double Harbaugh tree. He was with Jim Harbaugh in 2021 at Michigan. He was with John Harbaugh from 2014 through 2020. And then again, 2022 and 2023 as the Ravens defensive coordinator. He was an assistant with the Ravens from 14 through 20. He helped turn Michigan's defense around and get them to their first college football playoff, obviously. And over the last 2 years, the Ravens have had a top 3 scoring defense. So checks a lot of boxes. And on top of that, he seems to have a solution for offenses from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, which is awesome. Now, you could argue that maybe that has more to do with Baltimore's talent defensively than the scheme, the depth that they have on the defensive line, the depth that they have at linebacker. Obviously, we saw that firsthand against the Houston Texans. But, hey, maybe this was all the mad blueprints of the next Bill Belichick. But I'm going to say this forever. This time of year, the offseason really frustrates me as someone who covers the NFL because so many assumptions and predictions get made that never get reevaluated. You're just supposed to have a take, have a prediction, and you're supposed to ride with it, even when it's wrong. And I don't get that. I think you should be allowed to change opinions when you see new information. And I don't see the point in predicting what Mike McDonald will do. I just know that everyone in Seattle seems to think that he checks every single box. But no one, truly no one, has a clue about who will and who won't succeed as an NFL head coach. Just like you truly don't have a clue as far as what players in an NFL draft are going to be good. You don't know. You can make assumptions, but those assumptions are probably going to be based off of, as far as coaching success going forward, an organization's history. But we're talking about a guy in Mike McDonald who is the youngest coach in the league. He's 36. He has never been a head coach at any level. And he is replacing a guy in Pete Carroll, oft criticized by Seahawks fans who, no offense, think they're a lot smarter than they actually are when it comes to football, probably because they were around so much winning. I'm guilty of that myself. I grew up a Patriots fan. But so many people regularly criticize Pete Carroll. And the reality about Pete Carroll is, over the past 10 years, his 103, 58, and 1 record is the best mark in the NFC. Don't believe me? Here's a graphic. It's from FanDuel. The Seahawks no longer have Pete Carroll. I'm a big Pete Carroll stan. I'm a little bit biased on that front. I think a lot of it had to do with just a natural pushback against consensus opinion that he was washed, that he can't do it anymore. But that is who Mike McDonald is replacing. And yes, there's certainly lots of things to be excited about if you're a Seahawks fan. All I am telling you is that no matter how many boxes he checks, you cannot guarantee that he's going to be a great head coach. You can't. So there you go. John Ryan comments, youtube.com/Paul Gallant, going back to our Altuve conversation in the first part of the show. I've been an Astros fan since 1984. I was at the NLCS game against the New York Mets in 86, Game 6 when I was 10. That was a game. Sad we freaking lost. I need to find all of those games on DVD or something, because I really want to watch that. If you've watched the 30 for 30 about the New York Mets, their series against the Astros in 86 is heavily featured. They hate Mike Scott because they thought he was doctoring balls, because the Astros have always had a little bit of cheating attached to them over the course of their history. I have one last take. This is political. This is at the end, so all the people who get mad when I get political, just know that, as I adjust my headphones, just know that I saved it till the end. Am I saving the best for last? I don't know. I got a hot take on politicians. It's going to be controversial, but honestly, I think I'm right here. Once you get past how outrageous it sounds at first, I think you're going to agree with me. I don't think politicians should be allowed to be married. Further, I don't think politicians should get to have sex while they're in office. I think they should be married to the United States of America. Now, why am I saying that? Well, I was scrolling through the timeline, a timeline that perhaps leans a little bit more right than the average person, and I saw this video, which you can check out at youtube.com/Paul Gallant or twitch.tv/Gallant says. Here is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson being asked about the illegal migrant crisis in Chicago.
I have children who attend schools who have soccer games, y'all. You know, you all are asking me as if I'm not a parent in this city. I get it. I'm mayor. I get it. but you're asking me to give you a date, and I have to court. Do you understand that you have not had a mayor like me? I get that. I have a wife, I have children, they have schedules, and plus, we still have public safety that we have to address. We still have the unhoused that we have to address. I still have a budget that I have to address.
All those last couple of things make sense as far as why maybe you're not talking about the illegal migrant crisis, which we've talked about on this show. Check out the last episode towards the end if you want what I think pretty nuanced thoughts on it. But let's let Brandon Johnson continue before going back to certain parts of this quote.
And I'm doing all of that with a black wife raising 3 black children on the west side of the city of Chicago. I am going to the border as soon as possible.
Okay, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares about your black wife and black kids who you seem to be bragging about? Bro, you're the fucking mayor. Are we talking about race here? I mean, you're immediately part of a different class of American citizen when you are the person running a city. How much power you have relative to other politicians? Who fucking knows? All I know is what a weird fucking thing to use as an excuse to not answer a tough question. A lot of people in Chicago are dealing with the very many immigrants that Governor Greg Abbott has been sending to every corner of the United States. I believe he spent about $124 million or so on that. But, I mean, let's just go back and get a little bit more Brandon Johnson dodging a question about the illegal migrant crisis.
You know, you all are asking me as if I'm not a parent in this city. I get it. I'm mayor. I get it. But you're asking me to give you a date, and I have to court. Do you understand that you have not had a mayor like me? I get that.
I don't know what the fuck that means. You have not had a mayor like me? With a family? There's been no mayor in Chicago's history with a family?
I have a wife. I have children. They have schedules.
Who fucking cares? I say this every single time. If you're a politician, you should be married to the United States of America. Like a Catholic priest. Maybe not the most trustworthy example. Like a Jedi in Star Wars. Maybe not the best example either, seeing as they completely fucked up safeguarding the Republic. But Brandon Johnson is using his family as an excuse here. Families are a great excuse. Now, I don't have a wife. I don't have kids, but I know friends of mine who do, who have occasionally used their family or kids as an excuse to not do something, not go to something. They're very convenient. I talk about this in sports all the time. If you bring up your family in a soundbite, you're going to make yourself seem like a victim, and a lot of more people are going to take your side. It's really interesting. There's a lot of things you can use as shields in 2024. Family, mental health, and you have a chance of getting away with that shield, keeping you completely intact and immune from any harm. But to go back to my original piping hot take coming into this, shouldn't politicians, like a Catholic priest, minus all the stuff on the side, shouldn't they be married to the United States of America? Shouldn't they be focusing on the country? Yeah, they have a family. Great. You have more urgent needs, and they require sacrifice. The whole point of taking an office like this in the United States of America is that there's supposed to be checks and balances against someone having, I guess, complete control over everything. But if you're going to have power, yeah, there's some sacrifice that has to be made with that power. What did Peter Parker's uncle say? With great power comes great responsibility. And, okay, yeah, you have a family, you have kids. But you're also a politician now. How do you balance those things out? Do we expect politicians to be the best parents? Active parents? We don't expect that. Is that fair? I don't know, but we don't generally expect that. Do we think Joe Biden's doing a great job as a father? Like, no offense, but with all these other Biden stories, how can you say yes? And again, it's hard. How could you be president and a parent? It'd be a fucking difficult job. But this clip from Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson reminded me of something that I saw the other day. A person I really didn't know that much about. But let's talk about love. Love in a hopeless place. Because Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo announced her engagement on social media. Now, there's the picture of the couple to be. I don't know much about Lena Hidalgo, but I did some reading, and I'll be honest, doesn't exactly sound like somebody that's doing the best of jobs, but hey, I'm a casual when it comes to observing politics and politicians. Here are the things I know about her after reading up on her. She replaced my former nemesis, Ed Emmett. If anyone remembers Ed Emmett was a Harris County judge who was obsessed with saving the Astrodome. I brought him up regularly on my show. One time, I even called him a boob. To his credit, he heard about this, called in, and we talked. He is still far too obsessed with saving that relic, but who gets the win at the end of the day since he made it a historical landmark and now it can't be demolished? I don't think it's ever going to turn into a convention center or anything like that, like has been constantly suggested, because that part of town sucks, in my opinion. It's horrible to get in and out of. Rodeo season, Texans game, it's fucking terrible. Nothing around it. It's just a big stretch of parking lots. I wouldn't host an event there, let alone an event in a building that's overrun by rats, cats, and bats. But hey, he won. It's a historical landmark. It's never going anywhere. So Hidalgo replaced Ed Emmett at age 27, January of 2018. Here's the other thing I know about her. She has a rivalry with Houston District Attorney Kim Ogg, which is ironic because they're in the same political party. It started all the way back with this story that I was reading where Hidalgo was marathon training before her inauguration. And Kim Ogg called her hoping that Hidalgo would appoint someone she liked. And Hidalgo hung up. And it's just been worse and worse and worse since then. Like some petty differences in party. You'd think they'd have similar goals, right? Like one's a judge, one's a district attorney. But basically, their issues stem over Kim Ogg requesting a budget increase of 31% so that she could hire more prosecutors, because I guess everyone's overworked. They're working 7-day, 70-hour work weeks, and she only got 7%. So Ogg was probably pissed, accused Hidalgo of defunding law enforcement, which is a trigger word for a lot of people these days. It's ironic that that comes from a Democrat, but hey, that's what happened. Now, gets a little bit more juicy, this beef between the two, because in 2021, Kim Ogg launched an investigation into the awarding of a contract and secured grand jury indictments on 3 of Hidalgo's top aides for that $11 million COVID-19 vaccine outreach bid, which was given to a consultant who worked on Democratic political campaigns in the past. And it's getting really messy here. And I'll be honest, I don't know all the details. What I do know is that Texas Rangers are investigating tampering and misuse of information because Hidalgo's office has allegedly withheld documents in that investigation that started all the way back in 2021. Hidalgo, for her part, is saying that it's about the budget, it's about politics, and she has accused Ogg of lining up with Republicans. Ogg denied that. But I can understand why Hidalgo would say that, right? Like, oh, this is all politically motivated. Everything's politically motivated. But it gets even juicier because Hidalgo endorsed Sean Tier, who's a former Harris County prosecutor, in an upcoming primary, a couple months. Ogg has her own problems that have to be addressed. Her office charged 4,500 cases in 22 without probable cause. It's more than double the number before she took office. And Tease is basically arguing, person that Hidalgo wants to nominate, that the changes to the intake unit, which takes calls from police officers, they need prosecutor permission before arresting people. It's gone from 350 people working on it on a rotational basis to about 24 who are permanently assigned. Some have little experience, so it's a mess. But in a nutshell, the beef between Kim Og and Lena Hidalgo. Og is calling Hidalgo childish for saying a Texas Rangers investigation was political in nature. And Hidalgo is saying she's abusing her office and also called Kim Og a thug on November 10th. So there you go. Lena Hidalgo, very polarizing in Houston politics. In 2023, she claimed she'd been groped by an unnamed person. There was a video of when this happened. The video was edited to exclude her comments. It was eventually restored. She's been sued by the former head of Universal Services, Rick Noriega, who is seeking an apology and a retraction. And she took a leave of absence in July while hospitalized for depression. She returned in October. Must be nice to take a couple of months off for depression. We can't all do that, but hey, government jobs, am I right? She is very, very interesting, to say the least, huh? I want to bring it back to my original hot take about politicians, though, before I wrap this thing up. I just want more obstacles for the sociopaths in our country who actually want to take political office. Because if you're married to the United States, not to somebody else, a human being, or you're passing on the fucking because you're celibate, you probably wouldn't want to serve your country for decades and decades and decades. And I suppose that without establishment politicians, that things would perhaps be a little bit more difficult to accomplish. But I'm of the belief that term limits would be a great help. If we're not going to do term limits, well, how about a marriage limit? A fucking limit. Catholic priests do it. They do some other things on the side. Those things are bad. I'm not suggesting politicians do that. Many people do suggest that. I would never do that. All I'm saying is I have a solution to fixing the process with which some politicians govern us forever. So just a thought. No more marriage, no more sex, celibacy, unless you are having relations with the Constitution, having relations with making the lives of American citizens better. Play a little Toby Keith in the background. I'll put a boot in your ass from the old USA. R.I.P. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. We will have another episode on Thursday night. We'll take a look ahead at Super Bowl 58. We will put together a checklist of things that we want to see the Houston Texans do in the offseason. And if anything else happens in the world of Houston sports, we will talk about it. If you ever have a question, any question, you want me to answer it on the show, gallantsays@gmail.com. We'll do it at the very end. You can catch this thing live Monday and Thursday nights at various times at youtube.com/Paul Gallant, twitch.tv/GallantSays, or on X @GallantSays, Instagram @SportsGallant, Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports. It's also available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. So long, farewell. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, rate, review wherever you're watching or listening. And until Thursday, peace!